People whose work brings them into other people's homes. What shit have you seen?
I once delivered pizza to a falcon tamer whose falcon was just chilling with him on the porch. That was exciting. We supplied MDF baseboards to a 90-unit government-assisted living building during new construction. The contractor didn't want to pay for waterproof, so he bought regular MDF. The entrance doors were knocked-down steel frames. The floors were slate tile. 90 families moved in one day, and then the building superintendent mopped all the floors at about 2 a.m. The slate floors are uneven, and a lot of water got used to clean up. The mop water soaked into the MDF baseboard, which expanded so much it pinched the metal frames tightly to the doors and jammed every single unit door incredibly tight. I got there around 5:30 a.m. to do some stuff, and the banging and hysteria started. 90 units where people were locked in after their first night. Many thought this was a final solution scenario. We had to have someone turn the handle and someone else boot the door full force to get them open, one at a time, while each resident woke up from hearing their neighbors panicking and doors being booted in with steel toes. Pretty hectic for before 9 a.m. Just last week I went into a house to fix something, trying to keep it vague. For cats, 4 dogs, place smelt like shit. Garbage everywhere. Okay, not the worst place, but up there. The thing that creeped me out were the quotes. On pieces of paper in every room I visited, he has things written down. They will not break me. Cowards and backstabbers ruined my life. I will not play ball, shit like that. He also whispered to his pets about me. What I was doing, how I was going to help him succeed. Yeah, that was weird. As most of these stories will feature tales of hoarding, I'll give you a story with a bit of a twist. I am a plumber by trade, and although most of my work is with processing plants and factories, occasionally our boss will do a favor for a project manager or other high-level contact. We were asked to go and install a RO system. It's a type of water purification system at someone's country home. Most people have no need for water that pure. A filtration system and UV treatment is way more than enough. But if the client wants to pay for it, then he gets what he wants. So me and my coworker drive to this guy's house in the middle of nowhere. It's a pretty standard-looking house, nothing out of the ordinary. We go inside, and he brings us down to the basement to this big steel door and a set of steps leading further down. This guy had excavated and over the last few years built an underground bunker. Think of place in 10 Cloverfield Lane, but this was way better built. It was still rather Spartan, as there was no furniture yet. But this place was massive, possibly about 5,000 square feet of living space. There was an air filtration system that would bring fresh air in and pump it out to several spots on his property, a series of buried reservoirs to hold fresh water pumped from his well after it went through his newly installed RO. He had power from a mix of the grid and a small solar plant on the roof of his house and another in a field away from the house, as well as a backup generator. There were shelves in the walls with lights installed for growing small crops, even one room that he said will be dedicated to raising a couple of chickens. This man was geared up to survive the end of the world and had spent a ton of money to do so. I have seen a lot of preppers before, but this was a very different level of prep. I work as a technician in a pharmacy, and sometimes I'll offer to do deliveries at the end of the day if they're not too far and they've missed our regular delivery guy. This one lady, who was very hard of hearing, was starting on a weekly pill organizer that we prepare for her, so she invited me in so I could explain it to her. Immediately I saw 2 cats, who ran off very quickly and smelled a very strong odor of cat shit. I assumed there was a box in the other room that she wouldn't remember to clean and that she couldn't smell it. And when we sat down, I realized there were large carpenter ants everywhere. On the table, on the walls, on the ceiling, on the carpet, etc. She didn't seem to even notice them. There are worse stories for sure, but I'd been serving this lady for 5 years at the store and would have never suspected such a thing. I was so thankful for the fresh air I was breathing in when I left. Worked as an apprentice to a private contractor for a year before going back to school. The worst was when we working in a woman's home, getting it ready to be sold. We were painting her son's room, and we had to move the furniture to the middle of the room to cover it with a tarp to avoid messes. As we moved the bed, we found the kid's heroin stash, complete with dirty needles in an open cardboard box. Kid was about 16. We didn't say anything to anyone, just slid the box under the moved bed and went to work. We were pretty glad to be out of that place ASAP though. Along with the kid, his single mother definitely seemed to be tweaking at points, and looking back on it, I suspect she was an addict as well. On the other hand, the best job we had was a 6-month job that started as a front entryway reno for a woman who recently lost her husband. When we started, she kept to herself and spent most of the days in her room. She had some medical issues that prevented her from working and was clearly very depressed. The entryway renovation became a living room, and then kitchen, and then basement, and eventually a whole home renovation inside and out. The woman kept finding new things she wanted done. In the process of all of this, she started to heal, and by the end of the job, she was always out in the living room or kitchen, chatting away with us and feeding us and taking care of us. The last day of work was only a 2-hour cleanup, after which she took us out to lunch to thank us for the renovation and, more importantly, helping her overcome the depression that she was dealing with. I love that lady. In brief, heroin addicts and nice old ladies. I'm in and out of thousands of houses every year, so I've seen a lot. One of the strangest was finding hidden cameras. The people were moving in that day, so not theirs, set up in the attic and pointing into bedrooms and bathrooms. Also in the same attic, it was a big one, was a completely furnished hidden room that was only accessible from the attic. Needless to say, the homeowners were pretty freaked out. I've mentioned these people before. I was building an addition to an existing house. The owners they were a weird pair, husband and wife. The husband looked like Gollum and the wife looked like Hagrid. They were both very slow mentally, and they smelled terrible, like they bathed in pure ammonia. Even the new addition started to smell. The more we sealed it up, the more it stank, and we hadn't even opened them up to each other yet. At the time, I wasn't anybody important on the crew, so I'd never had occasion to enter the house itself, until one fateful morning when I was there early. The power to the exterior outlets had been cut, and the electrician hadn't installed the new ones yet, so I decided to run an extension cord from inside the house. I opened the back door, intended to become a hallway entrance, and the smell nearly knocked me over. It was like the ammonia smell that clung to them, but ramped to 100x. Breathing shallowly through my mouth, I ventured into the dimly lit interior. The living room, or at least I think it was a living room, was a literal maze of containers. Cages, 18 inches tall and a couple feet square, all stacked one on top of the other. As my eyes adjusted, I thought they were filled with rabbits. The ones by the door were stacked such that I could see over them. Elsewhere and against the walls, they were stacked to the ceiling, each and every one of them with an occupant. I stepped closer. Not rabbits. Cats. Hundreds of cats. Each cage containing at least one, some 2 or 3. Each stacked 4 or 5 high. Nothing under them. Each one pissing and shitting on the cage below. I got the fuck out of there. Oh boy. Gotta do this relatively frequently. I work in mental health, so a lot of homes I go into just reek of mental illness from the outside in. Messy, dirty, and chaotic-looking homes are a big indicator of mental health issues. Some houses I've ventured into have this strong odor, coming from a variety of things like uncared for pets, dirty laundry, old food, and just general human stench. Almost always there is both trash and clothes all over the floor. Broken shit everywhere. Because it's kids I work with, most times there is holes in walls and property damage caused by said kid when enraged. Girls typically leave sanitary pads/tampon cartridges, sometimes used, on the floor. I've seen bugs and bug traps because they are infesting the home. Went into a house once where I found out later that it was infested with scabies. Obviously, I was super paranoid about getting them for days. One girl's stairs had nail polish staining her stairs because she threw open bottles down in a rage. Typically, there is also at least one cat, usually more. These cats don't use the litter box, or, if they do, it hasn't been cleaned in so long that it is just plain disgusting. So that means that the cats will just piss on the piles of clothes lying on the floor. Lots of times the kid living there will actually put on the clothes/shoes/socks that had been previously soiled by animals. Usually the animals are in poor health. It's really quite sad. On the outside, it's easy to tell if the house inside will be in disarray. Unkept lawns, garden overgrowth, Christmas decorations still up in June. Animal poop not cleaned up. That's all I can think of for now. I've gone home on many occasions after work and gotten directly into the shower. And this is the end of today's video. I hope you liked it, and don't forget to comment an anecdote or experience similar to the topic of the video. Leave your like, share if you like the video, and lastly, don't forget to activate the little bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos. Bye-bye.